G'day fans and welcome back to another exciting episode of DNA Reviews, where we get Starfleet Academy and we rip it apart at the very seams. My man Mr. Nick is right there. Mr. Nick, how excited are you about this latest episode that we're going to be dissecting?
I'm very excited about this latest episode, considering I know pretty much zero about DS9. I'm sure this will be a really fun episode to dissect with you, where you're going to say something, I'm going to go, huh?
Well, as we know, Nick is one of the greatest Star Trek fans of the entire universe, knows absolutely everything there is to know about the old. He's a Trekkie deep down. Forget your Doctor Who. Star Trek is his thing. But I'll tell you what, Mr. Nick, I'll tell you what, we're kicking it off. We're looking at the episode Series Acclimation Mil, which doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but it's all about the character Sam, which I thought was kind of cool. And as always, there will be spoilers. So someone like yourself who isn't much of a DS9 fan, off the top of your head, just before we kick it off, what do you think?
I really liked it. All I really know of DS9 is the Tribble episode. I watched that when I was doing my big run through of the original series. The disc for the Tribble aptly has the DS9 episode on it, so I was introduced to all the characters that way. So I've got a general idea of who's who, but other than that, I know practically nothing, but I really enjoyed this episode. It was really cool to see, an episode from Sam's point of view, which is something I was a little bit worried about when you mentioned it last week. I was thinking, she's been really good. How's she going to be by herself? And I was extremely pleasantly surprised with that. She knocked it out of the park.
Well, let's kick it all off. We've got a fair bit. There's actually a fair bit we have to go through, to the point where I have to remove some images. So if people want to make any comments about things that we've missed, by all means, bring them up. So I liked, like last week, we had the Klingon text that came up at the start. I found this was really interesting, right? So it's a story about me. So this is like from Sam's point of view. And as I've said there, look, it is very cute, a story about me, but it's actually not a story about Sam at all. And that's the thing I thought was kind of funny. Originally, I thought it was going to be something like, and I'm going to mention this later on, like Data's Day from Next Generation, where a whole episode about Data and his life. So when you got this episode and you go, oh, it's about Sam, what's her day like? It starts off like that, but then it goes in a completely different direction. And in the end, it's like, well, it's not about you at all. It's all about what happens regarding Cisco. But we'll cover that off as we go along. So the concept was good, but they kind of went on tangents as they went along. Now, as this thing kicks off and you got Sam walking through the group in slow motion, and you're looking at all these people, I've got to ask, right? Some of these aliens, it's like, where are they coming from? I mean, it's like they came from Cats.
Straight off Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical stage. Yeah, really, really weird and wacky designs, but also it just kind of seems like they've gone with the hair. Again, maybe they've spent too much money on the graying out of the mouth on the Klingon, and they've had to just resort to fancy wigs. But yeah, it was quite interesting to see a few alien designs that, well, we clearly don't know who these things are, what races and species they come from, but I don't know. I think they probably just raided the wig department with this one.
Well, it's very funny. You mentioned Thok. She's not in this episode at all. So Sam comes across everybody, and clearly they just say, it's the too hard basket to stick Thok in, so just don't bother. So they just cut her out altogether. But I look at some of these designs, and it's like there's no thought being put into them. I mean, whenever like Star Trek was introducing a new race, it's almost like the designers had to say, well, okay, well, clearly it's a human being with makeup. We get that, right? But they're going to at least think about how they're going to do it and whether it's like makes sense. Whereas in this, it's almost like, I'll just stick it all on because it looks pretty colors, pretty this, pretty that. It's all on young people, by the way. And I sometimes think, okay, are they just like pulling this out of their ass and just like not thinking about it just because it looks good, rather than being, yes, an actual physical race could look like this. So I thought that was actually intriguing. And of course, when she's walking down the corridor and she's looking at all these groups of people who are looking at her, I mean, you got the basketball dudes. There's these dudes carrying basketballs. I go, do they just go to the local college down the road and just recruit some dudes? Come in, we'll put you in Star Trek costume. Oh, you got a basketball? Carry that with you. Oh,
carry that with you. Yeah.
What was the deal with that?
It made me go back to that thing of his hair in the first episode. You've got Klingons with their dreadlocks. You got these people with their blue hair. One's got a mullet that looks like it's made out of a leopard. and this guy can't have a bun, and it has to be cut into like Starfleet regulation thing. But yeah, anyway.
I like this comment from Russell. It's still a step up from Next Gen where they would slap the on. Yeah, okay, that's a condom for those in okay on a dude and said they're an alien. To be fair, Star Trek was known for having very dodgy looking aliens. I won't deny that. And some of them were like, "Oh, really? A couple of ridges on a nose and you're an alien." But I'm going to bring up an interesting point about aliens very very soon. So it's all about Sam, and we get to learn more about who she is. Series Acclimation Mil, which is an unusual sort of title at the best of times, and she's from the Cask race. Now, the thing that I found funny is that if the Cask race was interested to mix with organics, which in this case is all other biological life forms, why wouldn't they send a more mature hologram? I mean, so she's only been activated for a few weeks. I didn't get that. It's like, well, wouldn't you have someone who's a bit more, dare I say, Spock-like, who could actually understand and relate to organics more, rather than just chucking in someone who only just got turned on a couple of weeks ago? So I didn't get that at all. There's a bit of a disconnect there, dude. I don't know what you thought about that.
From my understanding, she was specifically designed to integrate with organics. Because if you look at later in the episode, she's talking to the giant tower of light, which is one of her things. I think she was purposely designed. I don't think there's a bunch of humanoid looking holograms walking around on a planet. I think they are an entity, and they have specifically bred her hologram to look and feel and whatever like a human. And maybe they just should have kept it cooking for a little while longer and not just 4 months. But I think the idea was they've designed her to specifically integrate with humans, sort of in the same way of, and you brought this up on the weekend, Isaac from the Orville is one of, I'm forgetting that race, but he was designed to go and hang out with the humanoids and their version of Starfleet.
So a lot of that I'm going to bring up very, very soon. So I hear what you're saying, but it sounds like the writers have said, oh, no, we're going to put in this young person who's really like, oh, la-di-da-di-da, and then just backstory it to make it fit rather than being actually logical. So if you're actually sending an emissary from your race to this other group, you're not going to send a child. You're going to send someone who's got a bit more, funnily enough, for an hologram switched on. So that I thought, I know why they've done it, but I don't know if it necessarily works if you sort of like really drill down into it. So, but yeah, because you would think, okay, that's a bit of a risk on her shoulders to say, well, if she's a little bit too la-di-da about her life, the whole thing of mixing with the holograms into the organic sort of connection may not actually work. But anyway, let's move on. So we work out a bit of backstory. I like this, at least because, when the series first started, she said she was a hologram. We didn't really get the gist of what was going on. So getting all this backstory was good. Okay, she's from Cask. All this stuff about writing on the screen, right? It's obviously very new, very, very funky. You would never have seen anything like this back in the Next Generation days. And it was actually good to get the character gaps filled in. Okay, so she's a hologram. She's only existed for a month or whatever it is. She's an emissary to the Casca home world, bloody, bloody, blah. And all good. Okay, we're got that completely figured out. So at this stage, it really is about her. This is Sam's day, as it was. Now, this is where you get to some of the controversial stuff. This has upset the fans in a big way. And there's two images I'm going to show about this. So this is when you get to see Craig, the Klingon guy, in a skirt. And as has been pointed out in Next Generation, guys wearing skirts has been shown before. And I was wondering if this was included to intentionally upset the fan base or whether it was intended to be a creative decision. Remembering that in the original series of Next Generation, when they put dudes in skirts, within an episode, they got rid of it because it just didn't work. So if you're doing it as a creative decision, you got to understand as to why you're doing it as a creative decision and whether it fits culturally for the character. So what do you think? Do you reckon they did it deliberately to upset the fan base? I personally think they did.
I don't know if there's anyone sitting at Paramount headquarters going, you know what we're going to do this week? We are going to piss some Trekkies off like there is no tomorrow. I don't think it was intentional. Maybe it was. I don't know. Who's to say? I think, we've had the dress in Next Gen. I think it's been in other episodes and stuff since then. It's not, exactly a big deal, I don't think. But I think if we're jumping ahead a little bit, but I think they are setting his character up to be a more effeminate character. Especially, later on, obviously he's flirting with the guy from, what is it, the War College. So that is exactly what I'm picking up, is that they're suggesting that. Obviously they had him have his moment with the blue dude in the last episode, and I think that's probably where it's going, and I almost wonder whether it's going to be a thing of another love triangle, and he's stuck between the blue guy because he's from Starfleet Academy and the good guys, or the War College and it's the bad guys. It's sort of like that, you know?
Yeah. So there's two perspectives. There's the in-universe perspective, and there's the let's make a TV show that's going to make a lot of money perspective. And I actually went to a Star Trek fan club meeting on the weekend, and the fan base is definitely divided about this series. And I'm going to touch on this a bit further too. I personally think that in the writers' room, they said, oh, no, let's just go completely left field with this and go down this path. And the thing is about the Klingon species, even though I personally don't give a shit about them, there's a huge fan base for them. Like, it's massive. It's been going around for decades, right?
Yeah.
And some people really dial into them. So going down this path has this potential to really irk a lot of fans. And that's the reason why I think in the writers' room, if they said, let's make this Klingon like he's, as you said, a bit more effeminate and do things with him that have never been done before, that's ticking the box of like, we're doing something different. But it has the potential to backfire badly, right? Because you're tinkering with something that you really should got to be careful about tinkering with. Remember, as I've said before, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. So, so it doesn't worry me per se. I don't really give a shit either way. But if it ends up having people saying, no, I'm not watching it because they're doing things with my favorite race that I don't agree with, I'm switching off. That is not good. And I'm going to bring this up a bit further on too. But I was intrigued to see what they were doing with this guy and as to why they did it. I personally think they said, nah, we're going to piss off the fans. We know they're going to hate it, but the new people are going to love it. And that's with that point.
That's one thing I was thinking is it going, and we saw this with your favorite show, Dags, Docky Who. They did a lot of stuff in the latest season and whatever that brought in a lot of people, but it lost more of the original fans than the people they brought in. So the question is Starfleet Academy, I'm loving it. You're, I think, pretty on board with it.
I'm okay. I'm good. I'm enjoying it. Yep.
We're sticking with it as people who've seen Star Trek. Is it bringing in more fans, more new people than it is losing people? If they are losing people, I think they are. I've seen a lot of hate online about this show. But yeah, the question is it paying off really at the end of the day?
Well, it's funny you should bring that up, because what I was going to say, and you've actually just echoed my thoughts, is that, and I did read about this myself, that series is clearly aimed, and this episode is an example of that, a youthful, modern Gen Z audience, right?
Yeah.
But you got to ask yourself, is it working? So as I'm going to be effectively repeating what you just said, if you push the old fans out, but you don't get the new fans in, then you've actually got yourself a serious problem. You're actually degenerating, or I think that's the word, your own product. So you're saying, well, we need to move into the new 21st century social, like whatever the term is for the world, and blah, 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 blah. But if you're taking these risks with these characters, and it's not bringing the new audience in, and it's just pissing the old fans off, then it's like, hang on, we've got a major disconnect here. And the problem is, and I agree with what you said, if there's a lot of angst in the reviews, people are looking at the series go, oh, 3 people say we love Starfleet Academy because they're doing wonderful things, but 300 people say we can't stand with it, they're destroying Star Trek, then they're going to have to readdress that, because in the end, you can fly your flag as much as you want and beat your own drum or whatever, but if it comes at the cost of the success of the series and a large portion of your fan base who've kept the thing running for decades bugger off, then that's an interesting sort of problem. So it's this episode in particular really brings it all up. So that's the reason why I'm spending a bit of time on it. So, which is a bit of a shame. I personally think, and I've discussed this, I know this is sort of dragging out a bit, that decades from now, like we talk about Star Trek Next Generation, DS9, and Voyager, like they happened last week, and that was 30 years ago. I'm willing to predict that 30 years from today, no one's going to give a shit about this series. It's going to be just wiped off like it never existed. Just like Picard, just like Discovery. Strange New Worlds will stick around, but those shows that took risks, even though Star Trek has always been about taking risks from a social level, it can backfire badly. And I think they're trying to do too much with this. Oh, here we go. Very good. I like this one. Star Trek: The Next Gen Z. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, definitely.
Back,
this whole series is aimed at Gen Z. Yeah.
But by the same token, if it is bringing in a brand new fan base who never watched Star Trek before, then all power to them. But by what I've seen, I don't think it is. So you don't want to bring in three. As I said, you don't want to bring in 3 fans. You want to bring in 3 million fans.
Yeah.
Young fans. And if you're not doing that, then exactly right.
But also, you don't want to bring in 3 million if you're getting rid of 6 million old fans. It's got to even out. Yep. It has to even out, and it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Is he a Scottish Klingon? Definitely not. And just going back to Sam and her, it's also all about Sam this episode, believe it or not. Hopefully their happy-go-lucky persona does a complete flip and she tries to take out all of the Academy. I'm going to bring that up later on, actually. Yeah, I'm going to bring that up later on as well. Anyway, so that's our take on it. We're curious to see where they go with it at the end of the season, where they go, we've pushed the social message too far. We need to just dial it back a bit. Who knows? Maybe the damage has already been done. Who knows? Anyway, it's about Sam, right? It's Sam's day still. As I mentioned, it was a bit like Data's Day. This is what I thought it was going to be at the start of the episode. And I did actually like how she's walking through the entire thing and she's like, oh, yeah, I'll fix problems and I do this and I take selfies and blah. I actually liked that. I actually thought this was actually very well done. So you asked me about what I thought about all the recent changes. I mean, I like Star Trek, but I'm not going to, it's still just a TV show. I'm not going to care either way. So, but I can see with this what they're trying to do. Once again, another alien we haven't seen before. But I thought this whole setup was really good. So I had no problem with it at all. Now, Darren, that's his. You think I'd remember this name, wouldn't you? The freaking blue dude, right?
Darren.
I finally got to remember it was Darren. It's like, I can never remember his freaking name. Now, the thing I found funny with this, he looks like a human, right? Right, and they tried to explain it. If you get to read all this entire biography, Bizzo down there, he's trying to mix in with humans. But the thing is, Starfleet Academy is all about biodiversity of different aliens. So he should look like a blue dude all the time. And clearly the reason why they haven't done that is because it's going to cost a fortune to make this guy up all the time. Just like we haven't seen Thok for a couple of episodes. Too hard, too expensive. Keep the cost down. We've even lost the droids. We don't see much of them anymore. The thing I found funny is that he should look like this all the time. Be proud of being a blue dude. Don't try and look like a human when you're not. Right, but they've tried to write it into the story. That's the excuse for it. And as I've written at the bottom there, clearly Babylon 5, this show is not. And for those who've never seen Babylon 5, that was a series that featured really, really exotic aliens, and they stayed alien the whole way through. They didn't try to hide it, and the actors had to go through years of makeup through all those episodes, but they never shied away from the main characters being alien in appearance. So I think with Darren, they've done a shortcut and they've said, no, make him look human. He wants to mix in with the humans, even though he's full of aliens. The only human there is Mia, right? The main guy. Everybody else is an alien. So be blue, dude. Be blue and proud. What do you reckon, dude?
I agree. It probably is production costs. I do wonder, and I've said this before, if they're going to go down the path of him not wanting to be like his parents, and maybe he doesn't want to be, is it Kionian? Doesn't want to be Kione. He wants to be human. He wants to, I don't know. Who knows where they're going with it? At the end of the day, it's probably just, it is just a lot easier to not make him look blue all the time.
So in the production meeting, they say, we've got this dude, right? This is his race. He's a Canonian or whatever. He's a blue dude. And they go, that's going to cost a freaking fortune to make him blue all the time. Oh no, let's make him human. He doesn't want to be blue. He wants to be.
And then you think, how did Blue Man Group do it for so many years?
Maybe he's not blue and proud. I mean, take one for the team, guys, and just say to the actor, sorry, mate, you're just going to have to be a blue dude and be an alien and be proud of the fact that you're a blue dude, not try and be a human who's acting, And that whole thing where he apparently throws up glitter, where they get that from, I've got no idea. So
I personally thought that was absolutely hilarious. I really liked that. I thought that was great, but I don't know what you thought. Again, they're aiming it at Gen Z, so
Oh, no, I thought it was well put together and it was very clever. And it is like a lot of things that students do. They egg someone on to do something really stupid and he eats bananas and he spews out all this blue shit. I thought all the, what do you call it? The glitter. It was well put together. I won't deny them that. So very good. Like this one if he owns a blue Corvette and a blue house.
Yeah. He is blue. Abadi Abadai.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, blue W.
There we go. Oh,
exactly
Colin,
right.
read my mind.
Very good. All right, so we're back onto the Sam thing. This is, of course, this series is renowned for stealing from other shows. And as soon as Sam started talking to the power, I thought, oh my God, it's straight out of Mork and Mindy, Mork calling Orson, right? And it's like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. And I personally believe the voice should have been female and not male, right? Because in Mork and Mindy, it was a male voice, right? And in this, it's like the grandfather standing over, oh, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. It should have been a female voice because otherwise, how the show comes across is like it's typical a bloke, and it's probably a white Caucasian bloke hanging shit on the poor like coloured lady, right? And I felt it needed to be a female voice to allay that subconscious mindset. I don't know what you thought about it, but I picked up on it straight away, and I thought, oh my God, they've just taken this out of Mork and Mindy.
I got all that, but the whole male-female voice thing, that didn't even cross my mind. I was just like, oh, okay, it's the head of the race or whatever, and done. That's just how it goes.
But you see where I'm coming from, though, don't you? Because I'm just a young female child, and I'm being blasted by the big overlord who's this big booming man's voice. I thought, had they just taken a different tact on it and gone for the female voice, that personally would have gone, oh, well done, guys. You've ticked an extra box there. So it's a subconscious thing, not a conscious thing. So anyway, it's something I noticed, each to their own. And also, as you mentioned earlier, the whole, once again, they're stealing from different shows. The whole Sam Cass scenario, it mirrors the founders from Deep Space Nine who had concerns about solids, which was organics. And of course, as you said, she's a direct ripoff. And it is a direct ripoff of Isaac from the Orville, who's also the Kalon emissary. Like an absolute one-to-one steal. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, come on. Sorry, just quickly. You're getting to the stage where you almost wanted to see, can you do anything original? Or do you have to just tea leaf from everybody? So, I don't know.
I think Paramount has a big problem on their hands with the Orville. The Orville was, while Paramount were doing Discovery, the Orville, which came from Seth MacFarlane, who is a massive Star Trek fan, like no other in the world, like he's nuts about it, has gone and made a show that is more Star Trek than Star Trek and has really laid an awesome blueprint for what Star Trek in the modern era could be. So it will be quite interesting to see if they do take any more from this, from Orville. But who knows? A lot of it in here, because Orville was bringing Star Trek into the modern era, and it was aimed at, it effectively aimed really well at both audiences, the old and the new. But I think they're going to take a lot of the stuff from the Orville that was aimed at the younger people, and they're going to try to use it on this show because it worked. The Orville was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and that I agree with you. And I think maybe they're saying, we'll put in Star Trek, no one's going to know. And of course, fans are going, wait, we do know. You've tea-leaved it from here, you tea-leaved it from there. It's lacking originality, and everything's starting to copy everything else. And I mean, admittedly, as you said, they're looking at a younger audience who may not have seen the Orville, but for people who are watching everything, they're going, hang on, what are you doing? And the worst part was the Isaac thing was done better. So, because Orville, as you said, was excellent. It was an excellent series. Just quickly, this is a bit of a long post from Russell. He said, it's an interesting point. If you question the recent Trek series, you'll be remembered in 30 years' time like the 20th century series were, but new science fiction series tend not to be because there are so many of them. Old shows got remembered because there weren't so many and everyone watched and valued them. True, but Star Trek is iconic, right? And I personally think Strange New Worlds has set its place in the world. It's set itself in the world, so it'll be around. That's bad English. I know what I'm trying to say. It will actually have some bit of longevity. But I think, I mean, I know this for a fact because as we find in the store and also at the Star Trek meetings that I go to, no one talks about Discovery. So it's been wiped from the face of the earth. Picard, aside from season 3, has been wiped from the face of the earth, and I think this series will follow suit. So you can make a series that will stand the test of time, but I don't think the series is one of them yet. To be fair, it's only 5 episodes old. All right. Sam plays the theremin. I thought if you're going to play the theremin, at least do the original Star Trek theme. Now, whoosh. Yeah, I thought that was a missed opportunity there. So, which I thought was kind of cool. And I did like this part. Okay, it's a groovy split screen effect. It's just like this show, but with much cooler people, right?
Yeah.
And I did like this sequence where clearly Sam has said to both of them, "Why don't you go and ask each other out?" And I liked what I think it's Tarraman on the right. Sorry, when she said, "Do you just go around asking people these questions?" That was a classic moment. I thought this was really, really well done. So, but yeah, what do you reckon? If our show had these people, it would look way cooler. What do you reckon, dude?
Oh God, yeah. Well, do you just go around asking people these questions? That was Bones to Spock. That was literally any of the crew to Data. Like, it was pure. And the thing is, Sam is a hologram. She is smarter than everyone there. And we've brought this up. Why don't they just freaking talk to each other? It's not that hard. Yeah. And she's thinking the same thing because she's, basically a protocol droid. Yeah. And yeah, so I thought that was really funny. I thought it was great. There was something like, she's like, "Oh, he must, he just plays these games. I don't like it." And then it goes to him and he's like, "Well, I'm playing these games because she'll love it," or something like that. And it was a really effective way to speed along the process of the two of them getting together without having to do an episode on one of them.
Yeah, I thought it was very well handled. Regarding them looking way better than us two, cooler people and better effects. Yeah, can't argue with that. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Now we finally get into the meat of the episode. I know it's nearly half an hour into this our chat. We finally get into the meat of the entire thing. Sam says, "Well, she's got to try and learn about people, bloody, blah, bullshit.
Yep.
And this is where we're heading into the Cisco territory for DS9. Now, for those who are watching the stuff in the background, the galactic barrier is still apparently a thing. Who knew? That was actually from the original series. And of course, it got referenced in Star Trek The Final Frontier, the galactic barrier, so whatever. And of course, they got the Guardian of Forever is still a talking point as well. So whoever designed all these sequences coming up put a lot of thought and effort into it. And I've got to say, it did look very, very cool. And very groovy. Did you know about the galactic barrier?
Galactic barrier I'd forgotten about, but as soon as I saw the Guardian of Forever, I got really excited because I thought that's where they were going with it. Because I love that episode from the original series, and I was like, oh my God, if they're doing another, is it City at the Edge of Forever? Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Yeah. If they do another one of that and they're doing it with this, it's going to be awesome. And then they didn't. But yeah, like I've said before, the production designers on this show are hardcore Trekkies, and they are having an absolute freaking blast doing this show.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And there's a lot of like little details in the background you can really look at and dial into. So we get into it. Sorry about all the long delay. We finally get into what this entire thing is: the fate of Benjamin Sisko, emissary of the prophets. Right now, the problem is, and it's not really a problem; it's a good problem. This episode about Sam, Series Acclimation Mil, it worked because of the story's concept. Yet it was because of the Deep Space Nine stuff that it did work. So had she been focused on some other character we'd never heard of, the entire episode would have died in the ass. But because it had this really long, strong connection back to DS9, a lot of the older fans really dialed into it. And I thought this was actually very, very clever. So it's a good episode, but it's not a good episode because it's taking its strength is actually from somewhere else. So, but what do you reckon?
Well, as someone who hasn't seen Deep Space Nine, that's a big black hole for me. I've seen TNG and I've seen Voyager, and then DS9 is just kind of in the middle, and I've never touched it. But this episode has made me really want to go and watch it and actually sit down and dial into it really well, because it took that, a character that I did not think they were going to try to relate to Sam. I thought they were going to do something with the Doctor. I thought if they were going to bring anyone from any older series, it'd be someone like Data, because that's the easy comparison. So for them to pull Benjamin Sisko out and go, we're going to go down this route, and instead of it being who is she as a being, and instead it's who is she as the role that she's being built to play, I thought that it was awesome. And doing the soundbite into the opening titles of the DS9, brilliant. Yeah.
So it's interesting. So you've never watched DS9, so they had to do a massive catch up, a history lesson. Oh, in case you didn't know, this happened here, with this happened there, and bloody, 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 blah. And they at least did it in 2 segments where they bombarded everybody with this information in 2 lots. So the first bit is coming up when Sam talks to Isla Dax, which I'm about to bring up in a second, and the other one is when later on when the group of them sitting on the table, because they thought, obviously the writers thought, we've got to tell everybody what DS9 is and who Sisko was, but we're going to do it in a way where people just go, I've just switched off altogether. But they were actually very, very clever in how they dealt with this. So when they brought in Isla Dax, right, who at this point we don't know is Dax until the end of the episode, a few people have been wondering about a Cardassian trill. So for those who do remember from DS9, trills were actually a specific species with the dots on the neck, right? And only in Discovery were they starting to say, oh, no, you can now, other species can handle the symbionts, which is kind of bending the rules a little bit in the fact that she's Cardassian. Make of that what you will. So a few people are a little bit irked at that. Only trills are supposed to have the symbionts. It is what it is. But it's a good reveal at the end. Isla Dax, obviously the Jadzia and Ezri Dax and Curzon Dax, the background of those characters. Notice she has the hands behind the back, which was a very Dax trait for Jadzia. I don't know if anybody else picked up on that, but I certainly did. But I was impressed by the fact that she was played by Tawny Newsome, who was the character from Lower Decks, a completely different persona from how she was in Strange New Worlds, where she's all bubbly and crazy and completely insane. And here she's completely toned it right back. And I've got to say that was actually very impressive. So, yeah, what do you reckon, dude?
Yeah, I think while Lower Decks was good, they kind of did shoot themselves in the foot by having such a great cast stuck behind animation. So obviously it was really great to see her and Jack Quaid jump into the Strange New Worlds episode as live action, but it is a very missed opportunity that we didn't get them all live action. So to put her in this as another character, I think works really well. And especially if that's going to be moving forward, maybe we keep her on. It'd be great to keep Tawny Newsome in a role, because she aced that, and it felt like it was 2 different characters. You know, sometimes you get people guest star on a show and they kind of just play the same character. Let's be real. But I have seen the first Dax, the one who then went on to do Becca, seen her character before, and Tawny Newsome definitely portrayed that really well. So yeah, it was really cool to see.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on it until someone else mentioned it, and I go, holy shit, was that the same person who played the Lower Decks character in Strange New Worlds? Completely different persona. And the idea she's doing a Cardassian, which I thought was intriguing, because if you remember from DS9, the Cardassians were the antagonists. I thought there was a very clever reference about Sisko growing his own vegetables, and Sisko's a Creole kitchen. So there's a lot of callbacks to the original series. I thought that was very, very clever. And as you said, a lot of this is being put together by clearly people who are fans of the show. Now, just to clarify something who didn't know, sorry, just quickly. So regarding Sisko himself, right, Isla Dax said Sisko wasn't entirely human. So for those who didn't know, so Benjamin Sisko's mother was actually human, but she was possessed by a prophet for the purpose of meeting Joseph Sisko and having a child, just in case people thought Sisko was an alien at the very start of Deep Space Nine. He was. But that storyline wasn't brought in until season 7 of DS9. Right. So I just thought I'd just chuck that in for those who didn't know.
There you go. Well, it really begs the question, did they honestly think that Star Trek fans or people would not have seen DS9, but would have seen enough Discovery to know what the heck the burn was? Because they spent all this time doing the previously on DS9 stuff, and they didn't tell anything about the burn, which is from a show that no one's going to touch. DS9 is still huge. Like, it jumps on the Netflix charts and everything every time it gets put on there, same as the rest of the 90s shows. So my question is, they did all this, and for the benefit of someone who hadn't seen DS9, that was really good. But you also had the burn at the beginning they didn't say anything about, and that's apparently so integral to this universe. And instead they did all this DS9 stuff. But anyway, it makes you wonder, do the writers really think that Discovery was more of a hit than Deep Space Nine? I don't know. I'd say they'd have to be pretty delusional to think that.
Well, clearly this episode is a love letter to DS9, which is interesting that, as you said, that they should pick this series of all the series and this character of all the characters, but it does actually work. And whether it gets people to go back and rewatch or watch for the first time, Deep Space Nine will be intriguing to see. And it would be ironic if somebody did that, watch Deep Space. There's 7 seasons of it, and there's a lot of episodes. But to get through it all and go, oh my God, this show is so way better than Starfleet Academy. So, have to wait and see. But yes. Now, one of the things I like bringing up regarding this series is when you see really cool props, right? So they got the book, right? The Benjamin Sisko Embassy of the Prophets, the kids' book. Another prop replica for Timu to make and sell. So I'm wondering if Asu, O2, and Ita Cell, are they actually like in-joke names that, what do you reckon? Who reckon those people are, dude?
I wonder if they are, I can't remember is it an anagram or something where you take the letters and you jumble them up and you make different words? I wonder if they're names of either people who work on the show, whether they're names of maybe old cast members from DS9, something like that. Who knows? I definitely think there would have been an in-joke with it somehow because, as I've said, the production designers are keyed in with this show. So it would be really interesting to see what that is. But the book looked awesome, and you think it's a physical book, but then she opens it up and it's a touch screen, It was very cool.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. She's talking about Sisko with her friends in the group, and it's like they got no friggin' idea who this dude is. They're just coming up with complete conjecture as to who Sisko might have been. Now, funnily enough, last week, and we brought up about the whole Bajor Club. What goes on in the Bajor Club stays at the Bajor Club, and we get to see it, funnily enough.
Yeah.
Now, the thing I laughed about this, right? One, they're in room 12. That is a big-ass room that looks like it's just straight off a corridor. And it's party time central. What I think actually happens is they're actually having a real party, and then someone's at the door. As soon as Sam's about to walk in, they go, quick, get into prayer mode, and they'll go quiet. But I love the fact that this is a typical problem with American TV shows. All the extras, all the people sitting on the floor can't speak. So when Sam walks in, sorry, excuse me, I'm just going to barge in, you'd think somebody would say, oi, who are you? Get your nose out of here. But no, they've all just got to sit there nice and quiet. Only the guy standing up got to speak. So it's a classic trope for American television shows where clearly the moment an extra speaks, they get paid more. So they just had to sit there and look shocked. But the Bajor Club, how's that? It's getting down, mate.
As soon as that happened, I was like, my God, Dags picked it the week before. He found it in the background. There we go. Finally, something he said matters. So yeah, absolutely. See, now he gets it. I thought that was really cool. I personally don't really know anything about the Bajorans other than what was in this episode because I haven't seen DS9. But that was really cool.
What I found funny with the Bajorans that we did see, they don't have, and you won't know this, but those who watch Deep Space Nine will, they have the earring thing, right? This big ass earring, which I think was meant to represent their status or something. And none of them have it. So I don't know why that would have changed over the journey.
And if it's a status thing, they probably haven't earned it yet.
No, you would have the basic chain. It goes from the top of the ear to the bottom of the ear, I think. And then it gets a bit more fancy as it goes along. So I don't know. It's just one of those things I just noticed was missing. So we get into the actual museum, the Sisko Museum, and I got to admit, I mean, if you could read all the text on the wall, it would probably be really, really cool. And I'm certain the uniform that they had was a screen used one because it looks like screen used. Anybody who knows anything about TV or film production knows that costumes never look as good in real life as they do on screen, and that one clearly looks like it's been in the wars, considering Deep Space Nine was made 30 years ago. But I really like this. I thought this was really well done. And I've got to admit, funnily enough, as a fan of the show, you go, I finally got to go to this museum and check it out myself. It would have been really, really groovy. So, which was cool. And of course, you've got the widescreen moment, and they did bring up some really, really cool items, especially the ones on display. And I've got to admit, I had a nice little, that's grouse moment when they had the DS9 Niners cap, which is hard to see because it's black against black. But it's up there in the episode where Sisko and the crew have a big baseball match against the Vulcans. And it's only used in one episode, the DS9ers. And I thought, what a great name for a team. And the fact that they added that in was really cool. So this looked really, really good. And you got your Cisco's Creole Kitchen logo back there and Deep Space Nine there, the Defiant there, obviously when he's a kid and whatever else. Yeah, this looked grouse. It really was well done.
Yeah, look, I thought it looked great. Obviously, it was completely lost on me. Going back to the way the suit looked, I loved that it didn't look brand new. We see a lot of TV shows where they go back and they look at an old costume. Like Captain America is a great example. They go to the museum and they're looking at Captain America's suit, and it looks like it was just manufactured and put straight in the cabinet. But in this one, it looks like it has been worn all the time, and they picked it out. It belongs in a museum. But it was really cool to see all of the little trinkets. It was cool as someone who hadn't seen it to Google. So the first thing that caught my eye was the typewriter. I'm a big fan of typewriters. So I was like, oh my God, was there a typewriter in Star Trek? And it was some human version, like ancestor of him or something. And it was his typewriter. And the funny thing is, those typewriters have now surged online. People are looking for them because they saw it in this. So there you go. They're doing something right. Wow. But it was really cool to see all of these different things and a bit of a taster for what I have to expect in DS9 when I one day get around to watching that instead of Doctor Who repeats.
Very good. Yes, we will educate you. So to keep ticking the boxes in this episode, and this one they pulled this one out of absolute nowhere. Cirroc Lofton returned, the guy who played Jake Sisko. And I thought, wow, what a coup and a half. To be fair, he's changed a lot over the journey from when he was a kid. But Jake Sisko was a major character in Deep Space Nine as Sisko's kid. And the fact they actually got Cirroc back was ingenious. And this really did cement the quality of the episode regarding Jake's connection with his father, because the thing about Jake and Benjamin, they did have a lot of disconnections between themselves in Deep Space Nine. Of course, Jake is stuck on a space station and becomes friends with Nog, and he's a bit of an unhappy camper. So, and he's got to go through that whole growing up process on the station, and that really completed this whole story regarding Jake Sisko. And I thought, well done, guys, and bringing the actual actor back too. It was like, friggin' well done, mate. All power to you. So, and once again, this episode worked because of where it came from, the original, its original source material. So,
yeah, seeing that, it really made me go, wow. People who have, watched DS9 over and over again, absolutely love it. They are going to be completely flabbergasted seeing him come back. I don't know if that actor's continued on to do much after Star Trek. I don't know whether he just sort of left it. I know that, obviously, the guy who played Wesley Crusher kind of just stopped after Star Trek, and then obviously had his resurgence with Big Bang Theory and stuff. I don't know whether this guy did the same thing or whether he did go on and do other stuff. But yeah, awesome cameo. I didn't really connect with it because it didn't have an emotional resonance with me, but I could see that it would have just been absolutely mind-blowing to see him come back, and especially because you just would not expect it.
No, totally agree. Very, very cool. Well done. Tick that box. Well done, lads. Now, once again, this show does some good ideas, but then it cocks up its own ideas. So good old Sam can't taste anything, as we've discussed before, right? Doesn't need to shower, doesn't need to sleep, whatever. So Mia says, I'll just change your processing matrix. If it can be accessed this easily, that means she can be hacked, right?
Yeah.
And as discussed earlier by Michael, about saying, would it be funny if she went completely Burko and went to try to take over the academy and kill everybody? That could happen. So if you actually have an enemy, they would say, oh no, instead of using fire with all the laser blasters, no, just hack into her matrix, turn her into a complete kick-ass like warrior, and let her just beat the shit out of everybody. So he just gets in and just starts changing stuff. And even though from the episode's perspective, it was done as a joke, you get the funny color hair and, she's wearing the different clothing. But this is actually a serious problem, right? If you remember with the Next Generation, getting into Data's positronic brain was never easy. But here, he just starts tinkering around like it's nothing. Oh, dude, what are you doing, man? It's like, mate, that's just asking for trouble. So did you pick up on that at all?
Well, she gives him access, which was a thing. However, I had thought that they were going to do the Sam getting hacked thing back in the prank episode. I thought someone at the War College was going to hack into her systems and do something there, but who knows whether they'll do that in future. Again, they might completely rip it off of Orville. Isaac got, brought back from the Kalon and goes, evil, red eyes and whatnot.
Red eye.
So the thing that got me though was Mia's doing all this stuff and they're all acting surprised and he's acting surprised that he's changing her hair and he's like, no, that's not right. That's not right. But you look on the screen, he's gone into that repository and that's what he's clicking on. So obviously there was a disconnect between acting and post-production. But if you look on the screen, he's like, what does this do? And he's like, oh, that's not right. But it literally says like rainbow hair. And it's like, okay, well, like, are you that dumb? But anyway, that was a production fault. Obviously there was some disconnect, but I do wonder whether they're going to do the hack thing. Like I said, I really thought they were going to do it with the War College, but they didn't. And now they've got this. And obviously it does affect, because we see what happens when they get to the bar. It really can affect her whole personality.
Yep, completely agree. And you would have thought they said, oh, can you change your processing matrix? Sorry, there's all these firewalls in place to stop that from occurring. Right. And we've seen in Star Trek before, when you start dicking around with technology and mucking around and bad guys get hold of it, it's stupid. So that's the reason why they've kind of done it.
How is this sort of omnipotent race of hyper intelligent beings making it so easy for a disgusting organism to be able to organic, disgusting organic thing like us to be able to edit her? You'd think that was not a thing you'd be allowed to do. But anyway, it worked for the episode. Again, it's just it's the thing to move it forward. But at the end of the day, it was used as a joke. I don't know whether you liked it. I'm sure we're going to talk about it in a minute. But yes.
So Orson, if they were watching, they'd be thinking, nah, that's just not right at all. That would really say, nah, we're pulling you out of Starfleet Academy. If you can be hacked that easily, we're bringing you back home. So just quickly, Colin said bringing back Jake Sisko was one of the best parts of the episode. Totally agree. Now, this is one thing that was like grinded my gears, and I couldn't believe they showed this on screen. And I can't stand this. Right, note to the costume department. What the friggin' hell, man? It's like, God, that shits me. It's like, who thought that was a good idea? It just looks stupid. Cut the friggin' thing the same length, either the short length or the long length, not halfway in between. That looked pox. Absolutely pox. So can someone take a snippet of this and what I'm saying right now, put it as a meme on social media, say to the costume department at Paramount or whoever, that looks plain stupid, right? And it needs to be changed. There you go. I'm off my soapbox now.
All right. Good stuff. Well, this is the first time we've shown this B story. Have you got many slides to do with B story?
Yeah, I have actually. So the B story was absolute rubbish. Absolute garbage. And it's like, how can you have such a really cool episode with Sam? Remember, it is about Sam's story, right? Dealing with the Sisko thing. And they come to this, and it was absolutely awful. And all it did was just copied what happened in Spock and Mock from Strange New Worlds, where they're stressing out about meeting a new ambassador and all their new cultural differences, right? It was a direct copy from that. But the thing was, we didn't even get to see the damn ambassador at the end, right? They're doing the whole thing with talking through the trumpets and the food and whatever, playing the music. It was utter rubbish. And it was like, who thought of this? So whoever wrote this part of the episode, they needed to delete this and add more into the Sisko story or Sam's story, because I only got one shot of this, but I thought it was absolutely like, we're watching it. Lynn and I are watching this together thinking, this is crap. What is this about? So anyway, what do you think, dude?
I didn't mind it. I don't mind what they're doing with Holly Hunter's character. I think it works really well, but it felt to me, every time it came on the screen, it was like, my God, can we just get back to the A story? But it felt to me like they had all the episodes on the whiteboard and they went, here's all the A stories, all the B stories, we got to match them up. And they went, we need a B story for this episode, and they just threw a dart at the wall and picked whichever one it landed on, because it did not link at all. In every other episode, the B story has somehow intertwined with the A story, whether it be through two characters, meeting right at the end, something like that, and interacting, who knows? But in this, there was no connection. It was kind of a waste of time because it didn't even solidify really her relationship with the War College guy. I know that's what they were getting at, but they kind of just played nice, and then we assume that they probably just go back to what they were. But it felt like they had to do a B story, because that's how all shows really go. That you have an A story and a B story, and they just got completely lost with what they were doing because it didn't work.
Because we've covered it before, where we're dealing with a brand new ambassador who's got these really unusual cultural requirements, and we're going to try and figure out how that all works. And it had the potential to work, and it just didn't. It was just dumb. And I agree with you. I'm thinking, just get back to the real story, the stuff that we really want to see. So I like this one. We're talking about we didn't get to meet the ambassador. Hang on, the ambassador's in the dish in the middle of the table. I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, go for it, dude.
That didn't make any sense because that's an earth fish, so I don't know how that's part of the thing. But it would have paid off for me, and this is where I dead set thought they were going. Because she mentions they never do a ambassador, they never start the ambassador process, they never start the negotiations, and they had mentioned that he knew the ambassador. I thought they were going to go that she was doing it because she was asking him out, and I thought that they were going to do that Holly Hunter's character was taking the absolute mickey, and that none of this was actually the thing, and it was going to get to him, leading the ambassador lady into the room who's just here for a date with all of this weird stuff, and the doctor in the corner playing a flute and whatever, and her just going, what the heck is all of this? And all of the Starfleet Academy people just bursting into laughter. That would have paid off, but it just ended.
It just didn't. Yeah, I agree with you. Clearly, he's had some kind of romantic or interest in the ambassador. And you're right. Because I was thinking they're going to all this trouble. Maybe they just need to just hook up and have a coffee. But they just dropped it altogether for whatever reason. So clearly, when they edited the episode together, even though on a streaming service you can have them as long as you like, and they just didn't resolve it. Okay.
Unless it comes back in the next episode, who knows? But I doubt it.
By then, the damage is done. I mean, the focus has been on the Cisco thing. So anyway, I don't know what the deal was with that. Greg has said about the uniform. I thought about the last show we speculated about the back of the jackets. It's like I can't believe we actually got to see the back of the jacket.
Yeah. There you go. Anyway, that's how it is.
Yeah. No human in the entire universe is going to go to their tailor, whether you're male or female, and say, "Can I deliberately get a cockeyed?"
You know what, Dag? As soon as AliExpress gets those costumes in, I'm getting you one just because it's going to piss you off.
I'll tell you what, I'll get the scissors to it or something. The doctor's line, when we're having a chat here about, now this is what I thought was interesting. So Sam's a hologram. You think she'd spend more time with the doctor, but she doesn't. And of course, the doctor's line about get over it, move on regarding the death. Some people have speculated it could relate to the fate of the Voyager crew. Remembering, of course, that by the time they get back to Earth, this is Voyager, and all the crew go their separate ways doing whatever it is that they end up doing. The doctor probably would lose contact with a lot of them. But I thought that was an interesting sort of like moment. And a lot of people are trying to join dots, even though since then he, as in the doctor, would have seen hundreds of thousands of people come and go. But I thought that was an interesting sort of point. And the book, Anselm, which I thought was very, very cool, because Jake was actually writing this book in Deep Space Nine. He was actually handwriting it, if I recall, for a lot of it. And as always, replicas of this book will also be available on Temu next week. So combine this book with the other kids' book. There you go. It's Christmas gifts for everybody. What do you reckon, dude?
Well, just make sure you get this one and go and chuck it in some dirt and stuff, because it is very dusty. But yeah, I think that'll be a really quick one that they're going to replicate. I was very surprised by the Doctor. I think they're going with Prodigy. Apparently he meant when the captain was mentioned in that first episode, he kind of snapped and got a bit angry. And then in this one, he said, get over it, move on. So I wonder if in one of the future episodes of this show, they're going to do a wrap up of the show Prodigy, and they're going to say that all of those people died or whatever. But I was really surprised with the Doctor because I thought that he was going to be Sam's main mentor. And then for this episode to go full 180, and instead she's, doing this whole thing with Cisco and Jake and whatnot, and that be what she relates to the most, and not the Doctor, who is literally her counterpart. I thought that was a really smart move, because the safe and predictable option was Sam is going to be on the Doctor like glue, because they're the same thing, and he's going to teach her and whatever. But he's not interested in her. He's just like, I've lived for thousands of years. I do not give a crap about you. And I'm really liking that. I think it is really, really good that they're going that route instead of it being all buddy-buddy.
You would think that Sam has spoken to Orson and said, oh, we've got a holographic Doctor here. And they've said, no, stay away from him because he was programmed by a human. He's not a genuine hologram. So
possibly
maybe that's got something to do with it. Now, there's only one more slide. There's something I didn't take pictures of, but we will discuss at the end. Just quickly, when they did the thank you, Avery thing, you and I both thought the same thing.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, shit, did the guy die, did he? So recording the dialogue.
Yeah. Oh, man, I freaked out because obviously he's one of the original captains, and, he does all the conventions and whatever. And I was like, how did I not see that pop up online that Avery died? Like, he's a huge actor and huge in the Star Trek community, but then I googled him. He's fine. He's chilling.
Yeah, he's cooking, I guess.
He got his however much money he would have gotten for doing that line, and just sitting at home retired. Absolute legend.
I think there's actually a photograph of him and Cirroc Lofton together, and it's floating around somewhere based around this episode or whatever, which is very, very cool. Now, the one thing I didn't cover off was what happened in the nightclub. As I said, I had to cut all these pictures out because it was just for time purposes. As it is, we've only got a few minutes left. So once again, the War College and our troops get together, have a bit of a bar fight, bloody, bullshit. Sam gets drunk, even though she's been hacked. I think it's like Tamarin, whatever, and Mia hook up and finally have a bit of a pash. Anything you wanted to cover off regarding all that?
I liked it. As a Gen Z, I approve. I give it my Gen Z tick of approval. Like I said, it is just that classic American teen sitcom. They are doing the whole, Mia and the girl are having a thing. They're keeping that moving. They've got the Klingon is flirting with the War College guy. They're keeping that moving. That part of the episode, which the episode was heavily devoted to old fans, they slipped that bit in there that was heavily devoted to new fans and the progression of the stories in the series. But like I've said, you're going to have Mia and I don't know her name, Tamarin. But Tamarin or whatever. You're going to have the two of them together. You're going to have something going on with the Klingon and the War College. You just know that those two are going to have a bit of a, fling, and then it's, oh my God, the rival colleges. That's going to happen. They're pushing that forward as well to get you, still remembering that is the story that's happening. So it's going to be interesting this week's episode. Are we going to do yet another individual person's episode? Like we had the one before this was the Klingon. This one, it's Sam. Are we going to do another one, or are we going to go back to the core story of them all hanging out at Starfleet 90210?
Yeah, exactly right. No, I don't really know, actually. Very, very cool. So that actually brings us to the end of our episode. We've only got a couple minutes to go before we finish up. For just very, very quickly, if you didn't see it last night, it'll be on next week, talking about the Who report. If you're interested in Docu Who, then episode 8 will be out next week with Nick and Aaron talking about the Who, which is a very, very cool. And just as a reminder, we've got a big trivia quiz coming on March the 7th for those who are in Melbourne in Australia. So be sure to check that out. It's going to be very, very cool. A big night full of exciting stuff regarding trivia, sci-fi, fantasy, and superheroes. So, Mr. Nick, I don't know what next week's episode is. I think we're halfway through the season. It's hard to say that it's just 5 episodes in. But it seems to be tracking okay, I guess, depending on who you are and what you like. I think if you're a hardcore series Trek fan, you might be sort of struggling with it. But if you're just a casual viewer who just takes things at face value, I'm one of those. Then it's fine. It seems to be going quite well. But the fact that they were able to tap into the Deep Space Nine section of this show really sold it. But going forward is anybody's guess. So, and it goes back to the core story, which is cool. Any final words before we get ready to buzz off? Huh?
That's good that it goes back to the core story. It's not often with a show like this that we get to, concurrent episodes, especially if there's only 10. Makes sense if it was TNG with 26 episodes a season. But with something so small like this, it is very strange. So it'll be interesting to see what this next bit of the core story is and where we go from there. Yeah.
Very, very good. All right, well, we're going to buzz off. So we're going to see you guys all next week. Party hard, rock on for episode 6 of Starfleet Academy. Should be good. Mr. Nick, have a good one. And I will see you all next week, fans. Ta-da.
See you next week, everyone.